So the verdict is now in from Tuesday night's VP debate. We have focus groups, we have polls, we even have the reaction of liberal-leaning pundits, and the overwhelming consensus is that JD Vance absolutely destroyed Tim Walz in that debate, and you know it's bad when even CNN is admitting to it pretty clearly. So with that said, I'm Vince with RTM News. If you enjoy our content, please do us a big favor by hitting that like button and subscribing down below. Your subscriptions go a long way in ensuring we can fight back against the current censorship and keep bringing you videos like this. So we appreciate it if you take a moment and go subscribe. But with that said, take a listen firstly to CNN pundits' instant reaction to what you saw on Tuesday, and then we'll talk about some of the focus groups that the mainstream media ran with undecided voters, quote unquote, and even they couldn't hold back the bleeding. Check it out.
The president.
I think we shouldn't lose track. I think even in the civility of the fact that JD Vance came to this debate to land a bunch of punches, and he did. He landed a lot of punches in between all the niceties and all of that. And the thing that really stood out to me was that Tim Walz did not seem prepared for it. He didn't respond to a lot of the criticisms and attacks that Vance put on the table. He allowed some clear falsehoods to just go completely unanswered. He allowed JD Vance essentially to dodge on a whole host of issues, on climate change, on the issue of his flip-flopping on Donald Trump. He allowed Vance initially to claim that Trump salvaged the Affordable Care Act. It took him several sentences to get to the part of his answer, Walz's answer,
Abby, listen,
where he actually responded to that. I mean, I think there was a clear lack of preparation and execution here on Walz.
That's as clear as CNN can possibly say it from the perspective of CNN, especially Abby Phillips. Yeah, Tim Walz did not do very well, okay? It was not good whatsoever. Now let's listen to Dana Bash's response, and she's once again going to confirm the exact same thing. Tim Walz really screwed this thing up.
I think actually it's the opposite. I think he had too much preparation.
Maybe, yeah.
He had so many lines that he was clearly trying to say that he didn't listen and said when JD Vance said one of the many things he really hit Kamala Harris on, not Tim Walz, but Kamala Harris, he didn't respond because he clearly had things in his mind. I think the lack of interviews that he has done with national media, with local media, it showed. He needed more reps.
Yeah, no.
Now, first of all, I would like to point out, I think that's a rather lame and pathetic excuse for Tim Walz's poor performance, because yes, it could be said, oh, it's because he's not experienced. JD Vance was just more media trained than Tim Walz was. But at the same time, let's keep in mind, JD Vance is extremely new to politics, right? He's only been a U.S. Senator since the start of 2023. He entered the political scene and started his campaign only in 2021. Meanwhile, at that time, Tim Walz had already been the governor of Minnesota for a decent amount of time before that. He was a congressman. He's been spending his whole life as a career politician. So really, you got beat by the rookie quarterback. You got beat by the upstart. And that's not to say that JD Vance is not good at what he does, but seriously, I don't think lack of experience is a good enough excuse there. Lack of substance, yes, lack of ability, but whatever. That said, Dana Bash is still essentially saying the same thing. Tim Walz lost the debate, and that was what literally everyone, including Jake Tapper on the CNN panel, had to say. But with that said, we now shift to what the voters think. And I guess this is absolutely what matters, because the conservative pundits are saying that Vance won. The liberal pundits are even saying that Vance won in their own roundabout way. But take a listen to what the voters and the focus groups had to say about the same exact debate that you watched.
Before the debate started, 2 of the voters said that they were going to vote for Trump, 2 said they would vote for Harris, 2 said they were undecided. But by the end of it, those 2 undecided said they would vote for Trump.
Yeah. By the way, this was the CBS News focus group. So clearly their attempts to rig the debate were not working, but it does get worse.
But while Joe Biden won this state in 2020,
So you're voting for Donald Trump?
there are warning lights for Kamala Harris.
I feel like he aligns more with America and American values than she does.
Isaac Simpson explained those Trump values while I made some gains on a delicious potato biscuit and omelet.
I just know that once you start doing away with things like the Second Amendment and altering it to your own, what you think is sensible, then it's a problem, because then who's the arbiter of that?
And here's the real kicker. Take a listen to what CNN unveiled about the devastating news for Tim Walz and Kamala Harris in the pivotal swing state of Michigan, and this really is not good for them.
This is a meeting of the Syrian Students Association at Wayne State in Detroit.
How many are hesitant, having a hard time voting for Harris because of these policies? That's just about everybody.
Trouble for Harris is also easy to find in majority Arab American Dearborn. Wabe Nuseba is Palestinian, a 26-year-old Wayne State student who voted for Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden.
I'm not voting for Kamala Harris. Not in good conscience. I cannot vote for someone that uses my hard-earned tax dollars to kill my friends and families overseas.
You saw it right there in the video. Every single person in that room raised their hand and said they are struggling with the concept of voting for Kamala Harris because of, by the way, the Israel-Palestine issue, which Tim Walz did not exactly do himself any favors on by giving that word salad answer in the opening question last night. But why is this so important? Because Michigan, and by the way, his home state of Minnesota, but we're talking more about Michigan here, is a state with a heavy Arab/Muslim population, and as you can probably assume, this voting demographic has been pretty reliably Democrat for a very long time. But now that support is starting to collapse, and if this is how it is going, you are seeing a significant drop-off in Democrat support from those Arab voters in Michigan. You may be looking at a situation where Kamala's slight lead in the polls does not translate on election day because she's down with Muslim voters. Trump is historically high with white working class union voters for a Republican. That spells bad news in the Rust Belt. And on the front of these focus groups, I'll go here again, it continues to get worse. Take a listen to what this focus group revealed on CNN.
It was a shockingly civil debate, if that's a thing. Both vice presidential candidates mostly sticking to differences in policy as they squared off over the issues. In a post-debate focus group, an overwhelming majority said they thought that Vance won last night. Here's why.
He's very battle-tested, very ready, and you can just see that he went to Yale, and he's very intelligent, and he reassured a lot of people, I think.
Somebody else.
It was a strong control of the facts. He ran the show.
He remained steady during the whole performance, and I was very impressed with him being very sincere and authentic.
He humanized himself and actually looked like a regular guy.
Joining us now, pollster and communications strategist Frank Luntz.
I have to tell you, only twice in my career have I had such an overwhelming movement towards one candidate. That's how significant yesterday was. Not that they were critical about Governor Walz, but they were so shocked at how emotive Senator Vance was.
And by the way, if you're curious, the final result of the Frank Luntz focus group was that 12-2 out of the 14 people, 12-2 said that JD Vance won the debate and felt that he was effective at communicating the MAGA message. So there you have it. It's pretty fair to say that JD Vance destroyed Tim Walz the other night. Now, with that said, the looming question is, of course, how big of an impact is this going to have on the election? And probably not a significant one, but at the same time, it's nice to have if you are the Trump campaign. Hey, it's October, you know where things are headed, it's very close to the election, and you get a very small boost in momentum. Can't possibly hurt. But let me know your thoughts on that. Do you think the VP debate, regardless of how it went, will have a big impact, or you think it's ultimately going to be a wash? Regardless, we're still going to talk about it because it is newsworthy on this channel. So that said, let me know your thoughts, and until next time, I've been Vince with RTM News. Be sure to subscribe, and peace.